Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us here today. I hope that you'll find this a valuable opportunity to gather information that will help inform the stories you'll be doing about JCPS for the remainder of the 15-16 school year, and that it will give you a strong sense of JCPS priorities for the next 6 months. I'm going to share a few highlights, and then I've asked members of my cabinet to give you some more details. After their short remarks, we'll offer you an opportunity to ask questions, and we have about until 1:45. Please note that there are background materials on the table in the back of the room, including the freshly printed Vision 2020 Excellence with Equity booklet. This is a 5-year strategic plan that has JCPS focus areas and goals through the year 2020 and provides the framework for today's briefing. So let's begin with our new vision. What do we see for the future of JCPS? All JCPS students graduate prepared, empowered, and inspired to reach their full potential and contribute as thoughtful, responsible citizens of our diverse shared world. That's a tall order for 2016's 6,600 member senior class, let alone the more than 30,000 students we have currently in grades 8 through 11 who need to stay on track to graduate between now and 2020. And that imperative is made more challenging by the fact that 66.3%, that's more than 60,000 students of our entire population of 101,243 students, come from very low-income homes. Although it's certainly not the case for every low-income student, we have to recognize that for many, many students coming from poverty, there is less exposure to educationally supportive and enriching activities, that they encounter inadequate access to primary and preventative health care, that they experience less stable homes, and that they have role models with lower levels of education and experience in advocating for their children. So if you do nothing, poverty correlates with low achievement. This plan guides intentional action to break the connection between poverty and low achievement. These realities and the behavior issues that sometimes result can, as we talked about, depress student performance. Moreover, for about 5% of our students, English is not their first language, and that poses another obstacle to overcome. But achieving our mission for every JCPS student is our imperative. We must meet students where they are when they come to JCPS, ensure that everyone is challenged and engaged to grow through effective teaching and meaningful experiences with caring, supportive environments. So how are we going to constantly improve how we do in the first year of the new strategic plan? Well, we continually engage the entire JCPS and Louisville community. Students, teachers, administrators, parents, business and community leaders, and other stakeholders in achieving that imperative. So how do we do that? The JCPS Board of Education has identified 3 focus areas. The first, appropriately, is learning, growth, and development. JCPS must lead the community in defining and providing the deeper learning that is necessary to prepare, empower, and inspire students pre-K through 12 to reach their full potential. Everyone in JCPS understands that we're teaching both academics and behavior every single day. And today, the definition of deeper learning includes mastery of academic standards as well as the development of what we call capacities and dispositions necessary to succeed in life. In a few moments, Dr. Dina Dossett is going to talk to you a little bit more about how we go about getting into the weeds of broadening JCPS's 2020 definition of learning and what we mean by capacities and dispositions. In addition, Karen Branham, the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, will share what deeper learning means when it comes to improving student literacy and strengthening early childhood education. Then Dr. Marco Munoz, the Director of Priority, We'll talk about personalizing our learning to address the different ways in which children learn and their different capacities and backgrounds as part of the effort to help principals lead struggling schools out of priority status. The second focus area in Vision 2020 is increasing the capacity of teachers and leaders and improving the JCPS culture. At JCPS, we often say that the classroom is the center of the universe. Well, the teacher is the leader of that classroom, so we must give teachers the opportunity to continuously improve their skills and increase their capacity to teach the whole child, to adapt to circumstances, to be more of a coach and a mentor than a controller and a manager, and to create engaging and rigorous learning opportunities. Dr. Alicia Averett will talk a little bit more about our next step in setting the targets for the strategies of cultivating a growth mindset for teachers and staff and improving the culture and climate of schools to ensure that students and staff work and learn in a safe, respective, and equitable environment. As I've said, our students come to us from a variety of backgrounds. John Marshall, our Chief Equity Officer, will discuss the JCPS demographics as well as the upcoming review of the JCPS Code of Conduct. Okay, the third focus area in Vision 2020 is improving infrastructure and integrating systems. Our schools and other buildings have to be appropriately safe, resource supported, and equipped. And that's the job of Dr. Michael Razor, Chief of Operations. Dr. Razor will talk about the priorities for the next few months and how they translate into achieving the infrastructure and systems goals in Vision 2020. Infrastructure and systems also include human resources and budgeting. So our final speaker will be Tom Hudson, the newest member of the JCPS cabinet. He will highlight some of the plans he has for improving our human resources infrastructure and ensuring the responsible stewardship of our resources. So if you can please hold your questions until the end. I promised each speaker will take just a few minutes, and then you'll have an opportunity to ask those questions. So we'll start with Dr. Dossett.
Thank you. So today I'd like to highlight the work that we're doing around the first strategy in the new plan, adopt a broader definition of learning. So as Dr. Hargens noted, this work begins with our new vision statement, which is we want students to graduate prepared and contribute as thoughtful, responsible citizens. So this vision reflects a shift towards balancing both the mastery of academic standards and the development of capacities and dispositions necessary for success in life. And we recognize that both are equally important and complementary. We remain committed to preparing our students academically, as depicted by the traditional accountability models, such as college and career readiness and graduation rate, and improving those areas. And you'll hear from Karen in a few minutes some of our work around improving the academic success of our students. But much of our new work will focus on broadening the definition of learning by aligning our teaching strategies and learning opportunities that promote the development of capacities and dispositions. The impetus of this work started with the Jefferson County Board of Education Strategy Work Group and represents a significant reframing of what we expect students to know and be able to do. A lot of that work came from the community conversations and input sessions that we held when we were developing our new strategic plan. So developing the concept of deeper learning will involve a collaborative effort by the JCPS data management team, academic services, teachers, principals, and others. We have started this work by applying for a planning grant from the National Center of Innovation in Education. And some of our next steps involve an analysis of national research and best practice in this area, engaging with recognized experts who can provide guidance and technical assistance, identifying those capacities and dispositions on which we would like to focus. So in our plan, we've identified creativity, critical thinking, self-regulation as capacities. We've also listed as examples of dispositions, persistence, empathy, responsibility. So what the work of this group will be is to focus in on, are these the capacities and dispositions that we would like to see in our students? And then how do we develop the metrics to assess that? And then the last piece is building the capacity across the district. So creating those necessary structures and environments so that we can adjust our curriculum, our teaching practice, professional development opportunities, and assessments. So I'd like to turn it over to Karen.
Good afternoon. Today, I'd like to highlight for you two of the strategies in the new Vision 2020. First is Strategy 1.1.6, focused on strengthening early childhood education. One of the first goals in early childhood is that at the direction and guidance of the board and Dr. Hargens, is that we improve and expand early childhood programs. And one of the first things we've done is to provide a total redesign for early childhood under the guidance and direction of Dr. James Francis in our new Head Start grant. This grant is competitive and it was just submitted this past November. We're hoping to hear the outcome of this grant in May of 2016. And so through this new redesign of early childhood, we're hoping to accomplish several things. One is that we want to convert from half-day pre-K classrooms to full day. Data and research tells us that our students are more kindergarten ready when they have greater instructional minutes in the classroom. And so we know that just making that easy change from half-day to full-day pre-K will provide our students with greater time and support to improve their learning and their kindergarten readiness. Secondly, Strategy 1.1.6 also addresses the expansion of our kindergarten readiness camps. This past summer, we partnered with the CENS Foundation to provide and expand our kindergarten readiness camps to over 300 students. And we saw an increase of 23% readiness of the students attending the camp on their pre and post assessments. So we know this strategy works. Next summer, our goal is to serve over 1,000 students. And as we partner with Sam Corbett, Executive Director of the Jefferson County Public Education Foundation, he has already secured $500,000 toward that effort, and it is our goal to raise $1 million to support this exciting initiative. Secondly, Strategy 1.1.5 easily connects to our efforts in kindergarten readiness. If we can get those students ready for kindergarten and off to a great start, it will greatly support our second initiative, which is focusing on student literacy, specifically supporting our primary students, those students in kindergarten, first, second, and third grades, to ensure that all students are reading on grade level by the end of third grade. In this initiative, we have two key strategies that come into play as we commit to this goal. First of all, we want to ensure that our teachers have access to quality, research-based, professional learning opportunities that focus on best practice and evidence-based literacy instruction. What we're finding is that many of our teachers come to us and do not have a solid foundation from their teacher preparatory programs in how to teach literacy. So we're partnering with Bellarmine University and the University of Louisville to provide professional learning opportunities for our teachers. As we work to build teacher capacity, the second thing is that we know that some of our students require additional time and support for their learning. So for our students who are not yet reading on grade level by the end of each primary grade, we want to support those students by providing them with additional time and support through programs similar to our kindergarten readiness camps. We call these our summer literacy boost camps, so that students have extended time through a 4-week summer program to help them reach their grade level reading benchmarks. You can see some of the data and some of the other supports that we're providing to support kindergarten readiness, and our third grade reading pledge, which are both addressed in Vision 2020.
The JCPS strategic plan, Vision 2020, is supporting personalized learning, and this is a topic extremely relevant for priority schools. We have about 16,000 kids associated with our priority schools who need personalized instruction. While doing this work, we are focusing on collaborating, partnering with the Kentucky Department of Education, with assistant superintendents, with principals, with curriculum and instruction, in implementing novice reduction strategies that actually reflect the core of our work, which is curriculum, which is instruction, which is assessment, which is classroom management, which is continuous improvement. Some of the key strategies that we have in place as part of the strategic plan, and kind of going deeper from what we have been doing in the past couple of years at a much better way, are the professional learning communities, are differentiated instruction. I would highlight actually differentiated instruction as a key strategy, and assessment literacy. We also have been proactive in our work with priority schools by implementing school improvement academies that prepare our leaders to deal with the challenges associated with priority school environments. How will we know if we're going to be successful? Well, we have plenty of data that we're showing there. We're very transparent with our data, and we're going to be monitoring this data on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis, because what we want to do with the personalization of learning is close the gap between what is it that the kids are supposed to know and be able to do, and what is it that they are actually learning and being able of doing. Priority schools need all support from all the community. We need everybody to be on our side, because we understand that the only way that we're going to be successful is we provide them with a stability in students, a stability in teaching, and a firm support. I'm going to turn it to Dr. Everett.
Good afternoon. I'm going to share strategies 2.1.2, cultivating a growth mindset, and strategy 2.1.3, improve school culture and climate. And these strategies are actually deeply interconnected. A core part of cultivating a growth mindset is increasing the capacity for staff to recognize student strengths. And recognizing and celebrating the strengths of students and staff is central to building a healthy culture and positive climate for our schools. Both of these strategies call for the use of research or evidence-based strategies and practices, and we will rely on these approaches and practices that have been demonstrated to successfully accomplish core goals. We are continuing to implement a systemic, evidence-based, proactive approach to establish school-wide expectations, interventions, and supports needed to cultivate a healthy culture and positive climate. And this is known as Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports, or PBIS, which is currently in 81 of our schools. This work does take time. Research tells us it takes 3 to 5 years before showing significant improvements. However, when implemented with fidelity, you will see improvement in social, emotional, and academic success of our students. And we are also incorporating approaches to help students regulate their behavior, reduce conflict in the classroom, and promote stress management. And this is through our Compassionate Schools Project and mindfulness. And in addition, we are providing intensive training on real-world challenges, and you will see in the chart over to my left, we have training on trauma-informed care and resiliency, as well as bullying prevention, youth mental health first aid, and crisis response, to name a few. And now I would turn it over to Mr. John Marshall.
I will talk to you about strategies 1.17. Diversifying our gifted and talented pool is something we are very interested in. Understanding our demographics is changing. The majority of our students now in Jefferson County Public Schools are non-white. That does not mean that they all are going to be in our comprehensive classes. Some of them will be in the advanced program. Understanding that this is a group that is often disengaged and disenfranchised, it is our job as a district and as a community to make sure we engage them and keep them informed that some of their students should be in the advanced program and what does it take to get in there. Also, we're going to be offering professional development to our staff because we have to look at gifted and talented differently than we have before. With the demographics as they change, we have to make sure that teachers, students, parents, et cetera, understand that some of these students need to be in the gifted program, but there might be a different way in which we qualify and quantify what giftedness looks like. Also, strategy 2.13, improve culture and climate. We're going to continue to offer equity institutes. Our equity institutes look at some of the inequities in our classrooms and in our school, but also address how we are going to deal with, again, some of the demographics we have here. The code of conduct is something that's coming up. We are going to look at our code of conduct, talk about some of the inequities in there, but continue to understand that it's not what it's really written, it's how we conduct ourselves and address the challenges within our classroom and within our schools. A lot of the code of conduct revisions will be not just with the people at the table. We have community members that are involved. We have teachers that are involved. We have district level people involved, and we're going to go back and look at the data. We're going to make sure that we put the code of conduct in a position where it can be implemented and treated with fidelity.
In operations, we like to say we make learning possible. We provide the things that make school possible every day. So over the next 6 months, you're going to see two main focus areas in everything we do in operations. One being infrastructure and the other being the ease of access. And in infrastructure, what we're going to do is we're going to take a comprehensive assessment of our primary operational infrastructure, which is our school buses, our buildings, and the technology that our students use every day. And from that, come out with reports and recommendations of what the next 5 years should look like in each of those areas, and whether some of the things we're doing right now make sense. Are some of our buildings being utilized properly or utilized to capacity? Can we reduce bus rides? Can we get more technology in the hands of students, and are we providing that in the best ways? From ease of access, what we're talking about is both internal and external ease of access. We're going to be developing an internal 311 system where all calls to JCPS can be routed through one number where someone won't get passed around on the phone. They're going to get one person who's going to be able to bring them to resolution, a real customer service focused mindset. Also going to be unveiling a new website and new app which is going to increase ease of access. Internally, we're going to try to provide the same thing from our internal customers, which are our schools and our departments, where if a school has a problem, they have one place to go, and then we handle it from there versus them trying to decide which department is going to be able to handle their problem or meet their need. Be on the lookout for big things in both of these areas as we move forward throughout 2016 and beyond.
Okay, let's talk about human resources, and I'll talk about it in two ways. Internally, we have policies and programs that haven't been updated maybe for 40 years. So we'd like to come into the 21st century in terms of how we manage people and deal with people in a fair and equitable way. We've hired a new director of human resources in Tiffany Armour, who's a great internal hire, and we've hired Odell Henderson to work on employee relations, and we're going to completely take our policies and procedures and review them from top to bottom so that we get something that we can all be proud of in terms of how we deal with one another in a more collaborative way than we have in the past. That's how I'd kind of look at it internally. Externally, with the Teachers Association, we're going to stop punching one another in the nose, and we're going to start working together in a collaborative way so that we can move forward and do some of the things that we need to do that are going to help our kids. And the most important one that I can think of is coming up with an incentive program that will get our most experienced teachers into our most challenging schools. And that program will be presented to the board on February 23rd, at least version 1 of that. So that's what we'll be working on this year.
Bishop, everyone. Now we're happy to take your questions. I also want to introduce that we have some assistant superintendents here today as well, and they handle schools in certain areas. We have Michelle Dearlert from Area 4, Paige Hartstern, Area 3, Joe Leffert, Area 6, Amy Dennis, Area 2, and Kirk Lattimore, Area 5. So feel free to direct your questions to anyone who's spoken today or to our assistant superintendents.
Dr. Harkins, I know you're looking forward to 2020. 2015 was, everybody's not on.
No, it's
Like anybody can't hear me. Hello? Okay. I know 2015 was kind of your base, and now you're looking towards 2020. But looking back, since you arrived, you went from the 14th percentile to the 16th percentile. We still have issues with teachers not feeling safe. Do you consider strategy 2015 a success?
Actually, I think Vision 2015 guided improvement. We saw academic improvement. We saw college and career readiness rates go up. We saw graduation rates go up. And of course, we're very attentive to the other areas as well. So I think it brought us this far. But what we're doing with Vision 2020 is envisioning beyond where 2015 brought us. So we know that we got the results that we got with 2015, but we know that we're going to have to work differently to get even better results in 2020.
I would like you to, is it working? Okay, sorry. I would like you to address the third grade reading pledge, because what I hear from principals and teachers is that JCPS is passing along third graders who cannot read. And I would like to know what is being done about that.
And Karen can add to this, but the whole vision is, imagine a Louisville, Kentucky, imagine a Jefferson County Public Schools system where every student comes ready to kindergarten. Right, ready to learn what kindergarten has to offer. And then every student works to be reading at third grade. After third grade, you use reading to learn everything else. So when we can improve that pivotal point in third grade, we're going to impact the rest of the trajectory. So that will take intentional effort, as we talked about. And as Dr. Branham can add to, every student comes to us with a different set of needs, and we know that it takes extra time and support to get everybody to reading at third grade, and certain kindergarten readiness starts that. So it has been very intentional, and I'll let Dr. Branham talk about intentional training and the plan to actually increase time.
Right. So if you look at this visual that's up in the front of the room, and you can look through that. At the base of the pyramid, we have strategies that we're providing for all students to ensure and support the goal of having all students reading on grade level by the end of third grade. Then what we're doing for some students that need additional time and support, and then our most intensive interventions and support at the top of the pyramid. Nowhere on that pyramid does it say that we're going to retain students. And so that's just not part of the strategy. The initiative is intended to provide that additional time and support to ensure that all students are reading on grade level, not to hold students back at the end of third grade if they're not. So I hope that helps.
John Marshall, I have a question. What's the demographic makeup of gifted and talented?
I'm not quite sure right now. I'm not sure. I don't want to give you the wrong number. But it definitely needs to be higher, especially when it comes to diversifying our gifted and talented population.
Like the percentage of minority students that need to be higher?
Yes, yes.
We can get numbers for you at some point. We may not be able to do that today, but we can try and pull some numbers. Is that right, John?
Yes.
Additional questions?
I have two more questions.
I'm so sorry.
I think it is.
Mr. Howard, is that?
Hudson.
Hudson, I'm sorry.
Like the river.
Could you talk more about the incentives you're going to give to the most qualified teachers to get into the most struggling schools?
No, because we've got a team of people working that are going to develop it over the next 6 weeks.
Why do you think it's important to have incentives? You know, what more can you offer that other than, you know, the joy of helping a student that is struggling learn? You know, why do you need these incentives, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Well, I guess the way I'd say that is, when I hear the word incentive, I hear money. And we're not talking about money. We're talking about ways to make the job more fulfilling. And as somebody mentioned here earlier, making sure that teachers understand that the environment they're going into is safe. One idea that came from Brent McKim was, what about putting in childcare facilities in or around some of these challenging schools so that teachers would be able to go to the child care center, drop their own kid off, and then go to school and work, and then be able to pick up the child from the child care center and go home. So it's those kinds of things that would make this fit for the life of a young working mom that, in her 30s.
Very good. Dr. Hargis, I have a question. As Governor Matt Bevin is now in office, it looks more promising that charter schools are going to become a thing in the state of Kentucky. Can you tell me what the district is doing to prepare for that? If you're looking to prepare for that, the influx of competition for the public funds, is this something you're thinking of? If so, how are you addressing that issue?
Well, one of the things we're doing, and it's part of the strategic plan, is to make sure that our families know they have access to public school choice within Jefferson County. So our application window closed on Friday for kindergartners. So we have choices within Jefferson County, and we certainly have competition within Jefferson County among the schools in Jefferson County, but also we have a private school system, and we have other surrounding counties. So we want to make sure, and this plan speaks to it, is that all of our families know that they have access and have a choice within Jefferson County currently, and the data doesn't support that every student and every family is engaging in that choice. So we know that that's an area that we can improve on. I want to commend the staff for what they've done to make it more accessible. We have a mobile application bus that actually goes around the community, so families, it makes it very easy to access choice. So we know that more of our kindergarten families did choose within the application window, so we know we're seeing an impact on that. So I hope that we'll have the opportunity to let people know about the choice that we already have in Jefferson County Public Schools.
Are you going to do more other than beyond the mobile unit? Will you be doing more in the coming year?
That is exactly what the strategy says, is how do we make sure that every family knows that choice exists in Jefferson County. So that is part of the plan and part of the strategies. That was our first step, and we're seeing results with the mobile application bus. But we know that that there's more that we can do, because we don't have everyone applying during the window. And you get the best opportunities when you apply during the window.
Last month, you spent a good time talking about how JCPS is not in crisis, and in relation to media reports and things that are going inside the schools. And the main thing that I hear is that you're not visible in schools. So I would like to ask the assistant superintendents how much time they actually spend inside the schools.
Well, and what I can say, and let me just say that what we did is put our data in context and gave trend data over years. We work every day on behavioral expectations along with academic expectations, and the area superintendents support an area of schools that's in the around 20, in between 20 and 25 schools. So they are directly responsible for the schools. So it is a geographic area that they're responsible for. So their job is to be in schools. In fact, Dr. Glenn Beatty just joined us. He came from a school. So I'll let them talk about what their week is like and how often they're in schools.
We're in schools every day, and we also prioritize our time, so some schools see us more often than others. But we're in schools every day.
Yeah, and I was just going to continue to comment on that, yes. It's differentiated, just like we would have for our students, that we have for our teachers. So every day we're in there. It's based off of, as Dr. Hargan said, the data. I have 23 schools, and I look at them like the ones that say, for instance, if they met their AMO or if they didn't, and then look at the plans, and so if it's a priority or not priority, so how much time that we spend in it. I mean, those schools may get a visit weekly, and there are some schools that get visits every 2 weeks. There are some schools that get visits once a month, but we are in schools every single day. That's why I was all bundled up when I came in here. Earlier, I was coming from a school, so, and not only are we just in the schools, but working and coaching principals, but we also attend their PLCs, their ILTs, their faculty meetings, their administrative meetings. We are very, very connected with the schools very well.
And they're also very familiar with the data regarding their schools and the trends regarding their schools. So their job is to make sure that they're on top of the data for each of their individual schools. And I'd just like to put things in context. Because it's all in between 20 and 25 schools, most of the districts in Kentucky aren't as big as each area is in Jefferson County, and there are 6 areas. Were you gonna add something, Joe?
I was just going to add something that a lot of people miss is that everyone understands teacher PLCs. But for example, I was at principals also have their own PLCs, and so our high school principal PLC for Area 6 was at Central today. And just as teachers are looking at their achievement data for their students, the principals are looking at their achievement data for their school as the academic year progresses and next steps and strengths and growth areas. And so we're in all of our schools, elementaries, middles, and high schools, working with the principals in their professional learning community as well, that mirrors the DeFore's and the teacher's concept.
And one other thing that, just to piggyback off of Ms. Dennis, Ms. Dillard, and Mr. Lefford mentioned, is that the support's differentiated. Again, a school, not all of our schools are alike. They have needs that are individual to their schools. In some cases, we're doing classroom walkthroughs with a principal to see how students are engaged in their work. In other cases, we're watching teams of teachers do their work together, and giving feedback and suggestions and support on how those things work. Connecting those teachers, groups of teachers, with district resources if there are needs. In other cases, it might be meeting with a parent and just providing that overall support, and also bringing, like Joe mentioned, bringing those groups of teachers together to look at data, because in a lot of cases, we all have similar groups of kids, and so we're talking about the types of needs that we're seeing in the classroom and what we can do to improve achievement across the board.
We also look at data in terms of how schools are doing like proficiencies, and that informs some of the professional development that we provide to our schools. So it helps us with the just-in-time professional development for individual schools. And I want to reiterate that whole idea of coming from school. So this is why I just left a school, did a walkthrough with the principal, as well as gave some feedback to some teachers while we were there. And so I just want to emphasize the whole point that we are in schools every day. And that's the favorite part of the job, is actually to be in schools and working with teachers, working with principals, and actually getting the opportunity to see kids and just the hard work that people are doing. So that's the best part of my day, is being in the school.
I can't be the only one not to talk, so I'm in schools too. That's the flat, wet head from this morning. But we go to, when you mentioned ILTs, when they have their leadership team meetings. So we're talking about instructional situations with our principals, but we're also part of their administrative team conversations. We're looking at their systems. I think a big piece of our work is also analyzing systems and being able to give them feedback on that as well. So our jobs are very differentiated based on the needs of the school, and I just want to reiterate what my colleagues shared.
We have a quick clarification and a question.
Yeah.
Ben and then Stefan about it.
Mr. Hudson, when we talked about incentives, you said you're not talking about money. So does that mean money wouldn't be a part of something that would be on the table?
No, but I think Money could be involved in that. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
We're still in the conceptual stage here, but the point is, we're gonna be done and ready to go to present version 1 by the 23rd of February. So we're not gonna gum this thing to death. We're gonna put a program together that'll come from teachers and principals, and that'll be the program that we get going with.
And when is your idea for that? This fall to have, how soon would you like to see that?
That and to start the next school year.
Last night at the board meeting, there were more issues regarding communication with the schools about certain plans that are being tossed about. I know that has been an issue that the board has brought up on multiple occasions during your time here, Dr. Hargens. I'm looking through the strategies, and unless I missed something, I don't see anything here about actual communication with the schools. There's a lot about internal or external communications. So I'm wondering, why are we at 4 years in and there's still communication issues that have not been addressed, even though the board has wanted them addressed?
Well, and I think the infrastructure talks about communications and how do we communicate internally and externally. Dr. Razor talked about that. So a communications infrastructure is a part of it, and obviously access to information and the new website and those things are a piece of that. We work collaboratively with a principals communication committee and with principals. We meet once a month with principals. So that is an area in a large district. Communication is always an area that in a large district, we need to have systems in place to ensure that there's good communication. So we continue to work on that.
You mentioned professional development for staff. Is that teachers or counselors? Is that continuing education? Is that something you guys have determined is needed in JCPS?
And actually, one of the focus areas is building capacity. We're a people-powered business. The majority of our budget is people. We get our result through what people do. So building capacity within people to, as Dr. Averett talked about, to have the training to meet the needs of our students. So that means all people. So from the boardroom to the classroom, how can we get better? How can we operate in high-performing teams? Because we will get our result through people, because that's the majority of, like I said, what we do. And we know the most important interaction is between the teacher and the student. And Mr. Hudson's point about the stability and getting great teachers in our high-need schools is because they bring the most expertise. And what we want to do is create stability. We want to create stability so that the same teachers stay in a school and form a team and get to know the needs of students, and so that they can better address them. One of the factors working against us is when teachers move out of schools, because you're always building a new team, you're always trying to figure out what to do with students. The other thing that's a variable is students moving. I think Dr. Dossett said this morning that every day there might be 250 changes within Jefferson County Public Schools. New students moving into the county or students moving throughout the county. So I was a classroom teacher and I was a principal, but I can tell you in a classroom, the dynamic changes every time somebody leaves or somebody new comes in. And I have to reevaluate what I'm doing as the teacher to begin to meet the needs of a new student. So we know that is something that we deal with, that variable of student movement and teacher movement. So some of our high-need schools have 10 new teachers a year. Well, they're trying to build a team with 10 new people. So you're always starting over with building a team. Whereas our higher performing schools have more stability in their team. So they hit the ground running at the beginning of the year. So development is really important.
So there are lots of charts and maps and numbers. Ben and Tony probably can understand it, but for the average parent walking in here, what's the main point that you want them to get from Vision 2020?
What we want them to get is that actually it was a collaborative effort. We brought together stakeholders from throughout the community that care about Jefferson County Public Schools, and it is 3 focus areas. We talked about the second one, building capacity. The first one is deeper learning. What does it mean for our students to be successful? People need to know that's all students. And the third one is infrastructure and systems. How do we create the infrastructure and systems within the Jefferson County Public School system? Because our goal is all students being prepared. We have to figure out ways to reach all students, because that's what public education is about, is this opportunity for all students to get a great education. So that's what Vision 2020 is about. And we believe that when we get this right, we're the single most important factor in improving Louisville, Kentucky. If you improve the education of 101,000 citizens, then you improve Louisville, Kentucky. So we believe our purpose is, and our responsibility to this community is great, and so we intend to move forward. And as we talked about, we've made progress. We're proud of the progress that we've made. If you look at our elementary achievement data and our targets, we were 1 percentage point away from hitting the target on elementary. We were over the target in math. So we see great improvement as we begin to develop this pipeline of stronger students and stronger citizens for Louisville. So that's what Vision 2020 is about.
Valerie had a question. We are over time, and I had one from the back. Is that okay? Just 2 more, and then we'll go. Thank you.
How specifically will you increase minority teacher hiring? Some say what's been done right so far is not working for the district.
And we have a goal, we all have always had a goal that our staff reflects the diversity of our population, of our student population. So there are lots of efforts to recruit. John Marshall does an ACES program and a recruiting program to try to get minority candidates into the classroom. So that has, he's done something at Kentucky State to try to encourage Kentucky State graduates to become teachers in Jefferson County. It is not nearly where we need it to be. There aren't as many teacher applicants as we would hope there would be. So we continue to look at that and redouble our efforts on that. It is important.
But are there any new strategies? Because what's being done right now, some say, isn't working at all, and something maybe more out of the box or anything else that's being looked at?
Well, we also have, and I'm going to let Mr. Hudson talk, we also have a Future Teachers of America program where we're trying to also cultivate in our students the desire to teach. Now that's a longer term strategy because they have to graduate high school and college before that'll work for us. But we're also trying, and that has been ongoing. I believe Mr. Marshall, what program were you in, Mr. Marshall?
I was in Future Teachers for America.
So, Mr. Hudson, did you want to add anything?
Dr. Amy Green is back here, and she has a whole recruiting strategy. She's holding it in her hands and wants you to get it. So I'd like to connect the two of you at the end of the meeting, and she can talk to you about the things that she's doing.
And that's on the table back there. You guys want to
This thing right here is on the
Yes.
Yes. And then we need to wrap up.
One of the concerns that we heard last night from some parents and teachers at the board meeting was the ratio of students to teachers in the classroom. Is there anything in this program that addresses that ratio at all? Is that part of the increased capacity?
The answer is no and yes. It's no, that's not explicitly there, but it's implicitly in there in terms of how we adjust those ratios going forward.
Okay, we're going to wrap up. Some people may be able to stay